I wasn't going to make this video, said every YouTuber. But honestly, I wasn't. This deviates from my regular content of just storytelling. Because I tell stories, you are safe to assume that I love stories. I love the medium of storytelling in general. I love books, plays, operas, films, shows, comics, video games, etc. So, why am I making this video? Why, I have crawled out from the bowels of my lair because Netflix Devil May Cry Season 2 has come forth, and it's terrible. And other news, water is wet. But this latest abomination to humanity had me thinking, why does this keep happening? Why do we keep getting poor adaptations, especially of gaming IPs? And the reasons why I think fans should keep being skeptical of these things. Let's slice into it. So this video will not be an in-depth analysis of Netflix's Devil May Cry. So I will not be doing a deep dive review. I will be doing a review, oh trust me. But it will not be a thorough one. It will not cover episode by episode, but it will just be general and broad. After all, my senses can only take so much. There will be spoilers, and I would like to add, before I get into this, that I am not a purist by any form. While it would be nice to get a beat-by-beat adaptation on screen of my favorite stories, I do not think that is necessary to making a story good. Some stories are notoriously difficult to adapt beat by beat per screen, so I think artistic liberties can be taken as long as the spirit of the original work is honored, and the characters make sense, and the writing makes sense, especially if it is drastic changes to the source material. I have been a Devil May Cry fan for a long time. It's a game about demons, hello. Though Devil May Cry was never a franchise with the most profound story or in-depth world building, that didn't matter because it is fun, action-packed, and an over-the-top series with very lovable and memorable iconic characters. It never took itself too seriously, but it wasn't completely shallow. The contrast between Dante's goofy antics and the more serious moments gave the story texture and rooted it in a solid emotional core. Even the anime was good. So, it's to no surprise that fans across the decades fell in love with this IP about the white-haired half-demon with his two guns. And maybe that's why many fans felt the need to hold out hope when the more goth of streaming services decided to corrupt another IP, when they announced they would be making Devil May Cry into a series. Unlike some, I was skeptical. I'm always skeptical. And when it was announced that this man would be part of the project, I knew what was coming. So he worked on Castlevania as a producer, and he's often credited a lot with doing a lot for the show online. And he's often allegedly credited for getting Castlevania out of production limbo. However, when I look online and I ask around, no one can definitively say what he has done.
Personally, I'm just curious too, what was your actual involvement with Castlevania? Did you help get it going? What did you do?
Castlevania was interesting because, I would argue those are not the four things that I'm most known for, right? I think maybe that's some weird internet algorithm that's like putting...
Totally could agree with that one,
right?
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't think anyone on this planet associates me with Lone Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
that's
Castlevania.
Still a problem with the algorithm, right?
I'm
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Problem with the algorithm. Honestly, that Power Rangers short film...
To be fair, this is all alleged because I wasn't there, you weren't there. Unless you were there, then you better tell me what he did. So with his name being attached to a very successful Netflix series, he decided to sink his teeth into Devil May Cry. And to be fair, Devil May Cry has a storyline that is loose enough that it allows for creativity. It's one of those stories that it's very hard to destroy. So darlings, with that being said, what is Devil May Cry even about? So Devil May Cry follows Dante, who is a half demon, half human. His father was the famous Dark Knight Sparta, who sided with the humans against the demons. So Dante is an immensely powerful hybrid that is often at odds with his brother Virgil. He uses his powers for good, and he has a shop where he takes on demonic cases that's called Devil May Cry. The name was coined by Lady in Game 3. His partner in crime is Trish, who appears in Game 1, and together they often go and solve demonic cases or cases relating to demons. And of course, we run into characters later in the series like Nero and Lucia. Now, there are many reasons why Dante is iconic, but it's mostly for his goofy personality that often masks trauma. And the reason why I say that this is a hard series to destroy is because the anime did it pretty well, where it follows Dante's everyday life, where he essentially hunts demons and he's looking after a girl that needs protection. And each episode, there's a different demonic character. That seems pretty straightforward and easy of a formula to apply to a show. So, with that being said, how bad was Netflix Devil May Cry? It was terrible. And the devil is crying. So I'm going to start off with some positives, and I thought the voice actors did a very good job. Okay, let's start off with Dante. So there seems to be a grave misunderstanding of this character. For example, Dante in the games often jokes to max trauma, but in this series he does it just to joke, which is a very shallow interpretation of this character. In addition to that, he seems to be sidelined sometimes for other characters to shine, and he seems to often be dependent on other characters. It just does not feel like the same Dante that is in the game. The power scaling is also weird in this show. I've seen a lot of people say that their powers are watered down, and I think that's a fair enough argument, but I would argue that it's not that their powers are watered down entirely. We do see Dante and Virgil do some cool things, but it's just that the show is very selective of when they do them. They often give a lot of the amazing stunts to Lady, who is a capable character in her own right, but we will get to her in a second. To be fair, a lot of the characters in this show feel like they are stock characters and they're rather generic and they're not entirely people or a whole character. Now let's get to Lady. So Lady in this show is butchered the worst by far. She has a very filthy mouth that is dirtier than a truck stop's bathroom.
What the fuck kind of sick motherfucker?
And she also has the trauma like she had in Game 3, but they just give her an overall disgusting and abrasive personality. And Lady is also a Mary Sue. She frequently does reckless things so she can reach her goal. Again, I understand this, but it could have been toned down to also show other aspects of her to make her a more well-rounded character. Overall, she reminds me of Galadriel from Rings of Power. If you've seen that abomination of a series, Galadriel is frequently always right, she's the best soldier, and she doesn't care what anybody else thinks and literally brings about Sauron's return because of her antics. So we start off season 1, and this is a rough one. Essentially, its main villain is a white rabbit who actually is a man. And no, he's not part of the original game franchise. This season and this whole entire show pivots away from the game storyline completely, and it gets very political. This season essentially is a large political commentary. And having things being political is not bad because to an extent everything is, but it is very on the nose. Subtlety be damned. So this rabbit wants to essentially help the demons, and he's siding against humans, and they're trying to open up a portal because of course they are. and Lady is part of an organization to help stop them, and then Dante gets wrapped up into all of this. So what ends up happening at the end, we get the US government getting involved and probably being the true evil, as you can argue. So let's get into the recent season 2. So season 2, we get more of Virgil and Dante's dynamic. So Virgil essentially, becomes allied to Mundus because he was tortured. We do get a fight between Dante and Virgil, but if you are expecting the fight like in DMC 3 on the rooftop, or the boss fight with Nilo Angelo in game 1 or in game 5, we're not getting anything like that. This season overall does not really have a memorable plot. It seems like Dante often takes the back seat to his own show, and it feels like, especially in this season, that they just wanted to make Lady the main character sometimes, which they probably should have, because you could probably have the freedom to do that, albeit you do not butcher Lady's character. Oh wait. So season 2's villains follow Mundus, who is largely indifferent. Then we have the demon god Agrosax, who are they trying to bring about? And then we have Arius. And Arius is your typical cardboard cutout nihilistic villain because of his past, and at least he's self-aware. So essentially, Arius is the head of Darkcom, and he tries to get the organization to get these MacGuffins to open up a portal. There's always something about a portal to bring about, I guess, the Demon Lord. And he wants to watch the world burn, I guess. And the Demon Lord ends up being raised, or Demon God, which is Agrosax. And of course, part of the ingredients is Dante and Virgil's blood. They already have Dante frozen, no thanks to Lady, but don't worry, because later on, he won't care about this at all. And of course, they try to get Virgil's blood, but at first that goes terribly wrong. So the season basically follows that plot line. And at certain point, Dante and Lady are at this place, and they're not doing anything at all. They're just playing around with this kid. Basically, yes, Agrosax is resurrected and he is defeated, and so is Arius. And that is pretty much the plot of season 2. So this season largely focuses on a romantic subplot between Dante and Lady. The reason why I bring up this romantic subplot, because if you are a Devil May Cry fan, then this is a series where love, at least when it comes to Dante, our main character, is not really there. He doesn't have a romantic subplot. He is very close to Trish, who I'll get to in a second. But Lady X Dante shippers have been waiting for this for decades. So, when it comes to Dante, he essentially takes jobs from a Lady, and she keeps it strictly professional because she is classy, Lady Mary. And when it comes to Trish, who I mentioned before, Trish is very close to Dante. I would argue, and a lot would argue, that she is the woman that he's the closest to in the series. Some have even speculated a little bit of tension, but the reason why that is an issue is because Trish is a demon that was created by Mundus, the big bad, to look like his mother in game 1 to wrap him in. And of course, Trish starts off being evil, but Dante saves her life and she dies for him, and we get that iconic scene, and she ends up being his partner. Now, Trish, of course, is a reoccurring character throughout the series, and in game 4, she shapeshifts into Gloria. That essentially is Trish. Interestingly enough, Trish is absent from this series so far, but I think this is a blessing, so Trish fans, you can rest safely that she is not butchered. But believe me, when she comes on screen, if she comes on screen, I'm pretty sure they will. Now, back to this romantic subplot. So like most things in this series, this romantic subplot is poorly done. It's not that they can't do it, even though it's not in the spirit of DMC. It's the way that they go about doing it. It is rushed. Their feelings seem to be as shallow as a puddle. Essentially, in season 1, Lady betrays Dante, and in season 2, he just doesn't care about this. Okay, moving on. And in season 2, he's trying to be the reason why she stays. He's trying to be her anchor. But no surprise, she ends up leaving later on. They do have an intimate scene, and it just does not feel believable. There is not a lot of good banter between them. There is very poor chemistry. Again, this could have worked if they probably flushed it out more, but of course they didn't. So Lady, as I said before, ends up leaving because she feels that she has too many like burdens, or she's too damaged to handle this type of relationship. I was actually thinking while recording this video that it'll be funny if she comes back and she's like all pregnant and stuff, or she ends up being Nero's mom. And before you guys are like, what in the world? Wait. I'm telling you, if you think that that is impossible, have you not seen the show? They've done the craziest things. I would not be surprised. In addition to poor writing, the music itself does not 100% go with this show. And Devil May Cry is a series that is known for its soundtrack. The music definitely, establishes the mood, as good music should in all series. But Devil May Cry especially, Dante likes to rock out, and this is not present here. I wanted to add that I did not know where to place this, so I'm just going to say it now. Lucia is also in the show, and that's a yay, because Lucia is often, sadly, a forgotten character. And she appears in game 2. The thing about Lucia here is that she's white now. Yeah, you see, some of you or some people around the internet may try to gaslight people into saying, no. Lucia was always, no, she was not. She was not. So some people have complained about Lucia's features being more keen. You could chalk that up to the style, though. This very anime-like style often gives people the same face syndrome. You see, darling, the thing that caught my eye was that Lucia seems about 3 to 4 shades lighter. If you know, in the game, Lucia has always been the character that is darker skin. She is black at the most, another ethnic mixture at the least. So this is very interesting. I cannot think of any logical reason why they did this. So we can add colorism as another point against this show. And the last thing I want to touch on is the fact that this show is called Devil May Cry. The franchise is called Devil May Cry. So why aren't the demons demons? So in season 1, it is established that the demons are not demons. The demons become an allegory for immigration. The ones that are coming over are often just trying to escape the evil demons on the other side. And the only reason why I think this was done, and a lot of people probably would agree, is to, of course, avoid the comparison between immigration and Hellspawn. But this was all unnecessary, because if you would have just kept things like they were in the series, you would not have to worry about this conundrum. But no. So this is an issue because it is in the very title. This show, the series, is not called Aliens May Cry. It is called Devil May Cry. How can you have a series about devils with no devils? So season 2 was not an improvement on season 1 because they both suffer from the same blight. The blight that is poor writing. The plot often gets convoluted and has a lot of unnecessary drama to it. The characters feel one-dimensional and flat at times. The show overall lacks a lot of depth, and the dialogue is so terrible. It sounds like it was something that was written by a child. It feels like something a child or preteen will think is edgy. It is a very overall immature show. And before anybody says, well, Devil May Cry was always pretty goofy. Yes, but it had its moments of seriousness, and it gave the series contrast. But this, I cannot take this seriously. It has me honestly questioning, who is this for? Because it's not for fans of the series. It's not for kids. Are they trying to audience capture? Because the writing is so poor. Who is this for? It fundamentally changes the story at its core. Literally, You could just make Dante into a vampire or something else, and no one would know that this is Devil May Cry. No one would be able to tell. Wait, isn't he an alien? Anyways, overall, I give this show a 1.5 out of 5. And that is to both seasons. You know, I'm starting to believe that this guy's sole purpose is to insert himself into every single popular IP, or it is just to ruin people's childhood IPs. I want to make something abundantly clear. This show and other adaptations like it are bad not because they do not follow closely to the source material. They are bad because they have awful writing, terrible characters and characterization, horrible plots, contrivances, and plot holes, and their dialogue is disgusting. Before we proceed, good adaptations can be made. It's just that they are rare, but they do exist. So this phenomenon, of course, is not just something that happens to Devil May Cry or series that are unlucky enough to be made by Netflix. This seems to happen to a lot of other series, a lot of other gaming IPs, where you get these poor adaptations. There are a lot more examples of terrible IP adaptations, especially from games. Comment below what you think is the worst ones. I know I'm leaving out a lot for the sake of video length. And also, if you made it this far, thank you. And please comment, like, and subscribe and support this humble channel. For example, you have the original Resident Evil films that fundamentally changed the series. They added their own character. And even though they added characters from the actual games, it fundamentally was not Resident Evil. Now, for Resident Evil, this sort of can work because games like Outbreak exist, where the original protagonists are not in every single game. But then it begs the question, why create an adaptation with the name of the IP if you're not going to adapt the original work? What is the point? And we have many controversial adaptations such as the Borderlands, Halo, and of course the Silent Hill films. Now I'm going to pause here for a second. We're not going to discuss that abomination that was Silent Hill in 2026. But instead, I want to talk about the original film. So the director switched out Harry Mason for Rose. He claimed it was done in order to emphasize themes of femininity and motherhood. Sure. But then he also stated that Harry Mason essentially was too dizzy and he was fainting and he wasn't really acting like a masculine character. And he wanted, I quote, "We didn't want to betray the nature of the game by changing the character's feelings and motivations. So we felt it was better to change to a female protagonist to retain all those important qualities." So I guess he's saying if you're a man, you shouldn't be concerned about your child. And if a town is trying to kill you, then you better get up, you know? It's not masculine to be concerned about your child. And it's not masculine to care about them. And it's not masculine to not be stoic in the face of a town with walking freaks of nature. I'm just going to add that it is the most masculine thing ever for a father to care about his child, for a man to care about his family. Moving on. So why does this keep happening? Why? So I have two theories. My first theory, that it essentially is rage-based marketing. I feel like a lot of these places, these creators, they want to get fans upset so they can drum up controversy so more people could possibly watch their abominations. Now, before you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Actually, it can if you think about it, because there will always probably be a group of people that will watch it just to spite other people, or people that just want to check it out based on fascination. It is a gamble, but it can work. I mean, rage based marketing has worked in the past. And I think this next reason is the stronger reason, is that they're essentially lazy. They already want a built in audience. For example, record labels tend to sign artists that go viral or already have a built in fan base. Publishers do this as well with authors. So the film industry tends to do the same. So Hollywood is going broke, and rightly so, for its unoriginality. So they want to stick with things that already have a built-in safety net, so they turn to IPs. The fans are already there. And they know that even if they create slop, somebody will watch it. For example, you know the comments that are always under every single section where they announce these poorly done adaptations. We gotta give it a chance. We haven't seen it yet. There will always be someone to go and watch these things. And that's why there are so many sequels and IP adaptations, because it is safe for them. And that's why we are not seeing a lot of originality anymore. And of course, darlings, we cannot rule out the fact that certain creators just want to change the series or the IP because that is their dream. They feel like their changes will enhance or better this adaptation. It is essentially a wish fulfillment for them to insert themselves and their vision into this IP.
Actually unhappy when they so I signed the deal and I'm like, yeah, great, I'm doing it. And then they're like, good news, we have Devil May Cry 5 coming out.
Were you hoping to play it before doing your adaptation? Is that what you're saying? Or you just...
No, I actually thought the franchise was dead.
Oh, I got you.
This was my thing. Like I liked Dino Crisis.
I see.
And I thought I was bringing this thing back, and I'm like, oh, this is like a modern fucking thing. Like this is ongoing. Then I should have done Street Fighter.
Maybe they should create their own story. So there's often this familiar pattern that emerges when IPs are about to be adapted. 1, there's the announcement. 2, hype. 3, interviews. 4, most fans interpret these interviews very optimistically. 5, the adaptation releases. And 6, a civil war ensues. Then it is rinse and repeat. As fans, we can't control the existence of these poor adaptations, but we can temper our expectations. One of the biggest mistakes I often see fandoms make is assuming if someone loves the source material, then they would make the same creative decisions that they would, and they would translate and honor the source material beat by beat. But this is actually not true, as we've seen time and time again. Some creators do feel like they should preserve the source material. And this is where a lot of fan favorite adaptations lie, because if changes are often made, they're made to translate it into another medium or to fix things like pacing and such. On the other hand, others look at the source material and thinks that it should be fixed or enhanced. And that's often where adaptation wars begin. As a lot of Netflix DMC fans, for example, love to point out that Netflix's version is an interpretation. I'm just going to leave this here. Again, a lot of these creators that are employed by these studios often genuinely think that they are improving the material, which is probably more disheartening than them just not caring at all. Not all changes, as I said, are bad. But most of the time, these changes are not good. And there is nothing wrong with an interpretation or reimagining the source material. But you probably should tell fans ahead of time, which is why I can respect the sentiments of the 2026 RE director. It is very transparent, so at least fans know what they are getting into. However, this is often not the case because a lot of these creators still feel that they are actually faithfully adapting these stories. And again, this is where the discourse lies, because people expect one thing and then they receive something that is totally different. I believe that the main discourse should stay focused on the poor writing, which seems to plague these adaptations. Ironically enough, that a lot of the poor writing seems to go hand in hand with major changes to the source material, so there's probably a correlation there. I say all of this to say I believe as fans of IPs, you should always remain skeptical. I'm not saying not to watch these adaptations, but to just have your feet firmly on the ground. Now, if you are a fan of any of these IPs that I said that were not good, you may have felt like this video was a personal attack. But I can assure you, it is not an attack on your character, just your taste. Now, everyone, thank you for watching. Feel free to comment below if you watched the new Devil May Cry series. What did you think of it? If you like any of these adaptations. And also, just remember, darlings, if they say it is our version, you just run and stay away from anything that has Adi Shankar's name on it. Bye.